Namaste and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. And as we say, Jai Hind, it is the 36th National Games. Ladies and gentlemen, make sport a way of your life, a part of your life. And let's just hope very soon in the near future, we as Bharat play host to the world as we host the Olympics. But this evening, here on this very special edition of The Right Stand, we'd also like to thank our viewers because this Thursday, 23 weeks continuously, it is thank you to you that we are number one. Thank you for trusting us. Thank you for believing in us. And thank you for your viewership. Unbeatable, indomitable, incisive. That's how we are at CNN News 18. And thank you for taking the right stand. But this evening, the story on the PFI crackdown, we take it a little further. We tell you why this organization was up to no good. There is evidence that points in the direction of this organization's close affiliation and working directly with the Daesh or the ISIS. That is our big CNN News 18 exclusive. The PFI and the ISIS connect. Time and again, PFI and its affiliates and fronts and members and its cadre have been in the news for the wrong reasons. For their affiliation not just with the ISIS but also inspired to travel all the way to Syria, however circuitously and surreptitiously possible. And the PFI has been involved, be it in 2015, 2016, 2017 through the course and largely from Kerala. Earlier this evening on The Nation at 5, we put out information that's been shared through sources within the NIA, and Arunima had brought us 2 or 3 cases from Kerala itself where these people, all of them, the cadre, were inspired by the ISIS and working in the PFI, and somewhere it was all mixed up. Now on to our mega CNN News 18 exclusive, courtesy our investigations editor Manoj Gupta. Well, Abhijit Majumdar, our guest this evening, is with us in the studio, but let me show him too, and along with our viewers, why is it that the PFI has been banned? Why is it called unlawful association? Now here's the input. First up, it's a CNN News 18 mega exclusive. It's a deep PFI and an ISIS connect, and this is what the raids have revealed. The raids have revealed that PFI is actually like a feeder source for the ISIS. It is breeding grounds, curating them, readying them and sending them. PFI a stepping stone for ISIS terrorists from India. Now the information that we have accessed from top government sources point to the fact that 21 of India origin Daesh terrorists, ISIS terrorists had direct links with the PFI. 4th point, recovered in raids, ISIS linked literature, A. B. ISIS training booklets, C. Explosive making manuals. This has been revealed. And number 5, a bigger plot of the PFI. Lure the youth, recruit them, radicalize them for the ISIS. And in fact, if you remember, there were huge furor that they were targeting girls from the Christian community and from the Hindu community, radicalizing them and even taking them along. So this was also hugely debated. It went even up to the courts, but one judgment put paid to 900 plus other cases. We will talk about that too. But this terror intent or this pan-Islamist intent, how similar, how different it is, and what is the impact, we'll talk about that with our guests. It's a mega CNN News 18 exclusive, ladies and gentlemen. PFI and the ISIS connect. Abhijit Majumdar with us here in the studio, consulting editor First Post and also founder of earshot.in. Sushant Sareen, senior fellow, ORF, strategic affairs expert with us. Srijit Manikar, we have opinion writer and of course someone who's tracked the footprints of PFI and its various affiliates in Kerala. And Vikram Singh ji is with us, former DGP Uttar Pradesh. Namaste, thank you very much, gentlemen. Let me start with Abhijit right next to me. Abhijit, the PFI and its activities. One aspect is that it's similar to the Muslim Brotherhood in its ideology and the way it addresses its cadre.
Insidiousness as well.
Insidiousness as well. The ISIS Connect, this has also been doing the rounds for the last 5-6 years. They've been saying that these guys are up to no good, they're radicalizing youth. Now there seems to be absolute connect.
Exactly. See, Anand, what's coming out of this investigative piece is that PFI was not about, a voice for Indian Muslims or the subjugated in India voice. This was a pan-Islamic, global kind of movement. It was part of that, extremely violent jihad movement. And one, in all this, in everything, the one good shining line is that they have been looking out of India for their inspiration, out of India for their funding, and they have been traveling all over the world. If you see some of the cases that that are with NIA, that these people have gone with their families to Malaysia, then to Saudi Arabia, then to Turkey, then tried to get into Iraq and join the ISIS. So a lot of the main part of the puzzle is still outside India. So the one good thing that I take away from this is that there's a very large part of Indian Muslims do not
subscribe to this.
Do not subscribe to this. Do not look at PFI as their voice.
But on a base of more than 25 crore Muslims in India, a few thousands, a few hundreds, or a few thousands itself is a sizable number.
Exactly.
And here there are a few hundreds who have gone from here. Now 21 at least confirmed who were directly linked to the PFI who are serving with the Daesh. Let me just take this. That's what the information tells us. Let me just take this to Sushant Sareen. What are the questions that Abhijit also asked? Muslim Brotherhood or ISIS? How are they similar and how are they different? And this PFI as an organization, how can it be influenced by both organizations?
Anand, one of the things which we haven't really covered so far is the involvement of people from Kerala in incidents of terrorism and with Daesh in Afghanistan. I think we need to factor that in as well, because there have been a number of people who have gone from Kerala and made a beeline for the Islamic State out there in Afghanistan. But on your question, you have to understand where the jihadist phenomena or the jihadist mentality comes from. Broadly speaking, if you look at all the jihadist organizations around the world, there is a continuum. There's an ideological continuum which ties them together. What is more, they also behave like any multinational corporation will behave. They think global, which means that they identify with global Islamist causes, but they act local. So they take care of what is happening in the local areas, and they try and leverage that to win their recruitment, to carry out their operations, to gain visibility. And then, the ideological font of most of these movements, in some ways can be traced to the Muslim Brotherhood, which is very closely linked also to the Jamaat-e-Islami. Very often people forget, thankfully this government had the wisdom to ban the Jamaat-e-Islami in Jammu and Kashmir, but the Jamaat-e-Islami in the rest of India continues to exist. They remain under the radar screen, but broadly, if you look at the ideological continuum between the Jamaat and the Muslim Brotherhood, it's almost similar. And in fact, both Hassan al-Banna of the Muslim Brotherhood as well as Maududi of the Jamaat-e-Islami were very closely linked. Now go back 300 years. Shah Waliullah, who is in some ways supposed to be the progenitor of radical Islam in the subcontinent, was a contemporary of Abdul Wahab, the head of the Wahhabi sect in Saudi Arabia. They more or less were contemporaries in Saudi Arabia at one point of time. So, you have to look at it in that context to understand, the kind of cross connections which tie these various jihadist groups. To just look at these groups in isolation, you miss the the larger plot, which actually then they will have their differences. They will have both doctrinal differences. They will have some ideological problems as well, and yet the fundamental ideological strain is common. their attitude towards women, their attitude towards minorities, their concept of Islamic law, their concept of what an Islamic state is going to be, broadly similar. So, it doesn't take much for somebody from Kerala who is influenced by that kind of a philosophy, even though he has absolutely nothing in common with these fellows otherwise.
Yeah.
But he's influenced by that ideology, that philosophy, and then he goes and makes a beeline out there. And it's like, transferring a fish from one pond of water to another pond of water. They fit in rather well. Of course, then racism and other things come in. So many of the guys who went from India to work in ISIS were made to clean toilets,
right,
because they were thought they are not fit enough to be fighters. But that's besides the point.
No,
but by and large, that is the reality.
No, they show them a dream, then they treat them as infidels and as inferiors. That's what is the thing. Everybody goes and they get brainwashed with this kind of ideology. Srijit Nair, is this such a big problem in Kerala? Is this something which has been taken cognizance of? Because governments in the past and even in the present have been very, very careful about taking a strong position. They have waited for the centre to act even before the Kerala government declares it an unlawful association.
Yeah, that kind of a drift actually happened over the last 10-12 years, Anand, because 3 years into the inception of PFI, there was this then Chief Minister, Mr. V.S. Achuthanandan, who was representing the CPM. He spoke in Delhi against the PFI, saying that they have a very larger design to convert the state into an Islamic dominated state in 2 decades. And he said that they were adopting different types of ways like religious conversion to achieve their goal. This had become a big controversy back then, and even Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan, who was at loggerheads with him in terms of ideological differences within the party, had supported him. And then just 2 years after that, the government changed, and it was a Congress government led by Umman Chandi. And he gave a fact-driven affidavit in the Kerala High Court, which detailed the number of violent cases in which the PFI members were involved in, the number of murders, and also the other types of criminal activities, including attempts to murder. And these were all sizable in the ranges of 20, 30, and it goes on like that. But what happened is that in the next 10 years, nobody bothered. No political dispensation acted against it, and nobody even demanded a ban on PFI or its affiliated organizations. So basically what happened is that during the last 10 years, PFI grew from just a Muslim organization to accept a lot of minorities into it, like Christians and others. Then they said they took a pro-Dalit stand. They welcomed the tribals into it. So basically they gave an impression to the exterior world that they stood for the marginalized sections of the society. They were saying that they were against the far right-wing politics of the Sangha Parivar, and they even gave three different ideals as their offering to the society, like freedom, justice, and security.
Yes.
But what happened later in 2018 in Madhya Pradesh, there was a national annual DGP meet. So in that meet, what I learned from the newspapers is that Kerala's DGP, who was Loknath Behra at that point of time, he gave a detailed presentation on the growth of this PFI and also their influence in various sects of people within the state. So he specifically quoted 4 examples. One is a much discussed case of that hand chopping incident of a college professor here. Then into there were some camps where they were training people in using the weapons. Third was the manufacturing of weapons and IEDs, and then murders which on the exterior look like political murders, but these were not just political murders, these were ideology based murders. The ideology means it was not political, but it was all communal. So he gave that presentation, and post that event, the then minister Kiran Rijiju gave a statement publicly that the Kerala government has been pressing actively for a ban. But what happened is, the same Pinarayi Vijayan who supported V.S. Achuthanandan in his statements against the PFI back in 2010 took a stand saying that Kiran Rijiju has been misconstruing facts and that it was baseless.
Right.
What he said is the government is not for outlawing any kind of organization, and if at all they do, the first organization to be banned will be the RSS. Now the same stand is taken by the state party chief 2 days before, which is 4 years after that particular incident. Now what happened is Loknath Behra, due to his restrictions, he could not speak to the media. But what indeed happened is, last year, before his retirement, he met a lot of media houses and gave exclusive interviews to all of them. There he said a point which you gave in the introduction of this particular debate, that Kerala has fast become the breeding ground, or rather the recruiting hub of terrorists.
Yes.
He said that there were a lot of sleeper cells of the IS working in the state, across the state, and he said that the police was probably not able to track down every one of them. Then some of the opposition MLAs, some roughly 45 days after this revelation, asked this to the chief minister in the assembly, and he said he did not have any kind of information. Even today, what happens is that even the very strong governments which are anti-BJP are enforcing the orders from the center in banning the PFI. They are using the state police and the anti-terrorist squads to crack down the PFI officers, the PFI activists, everyone. What happens in Kerala? Kerala is going soft against it. The CM has issued a statement that there should not be any unnecessary haste. We should be using only lawful means to curb them. I do not understand what is unnecessary hate in cracking down an organization like PFI, which has been banned India-wide. The haste, if at all, is taken on the part of the police. It is legal. It is well within normal people's understanding. But what the CM says is for appeasement. That is the problem. That is the big change that has happened over the last 10 years in Kerala politics. Everybody sees PFI and its affiliated political friends like SDP as a vote bank. So they woo at least local.
So that's how they have been able
levels.
to. What they've slowly been able to do is gather so much of root and presence that they are able to portray themselves as an important vote bank. You may not like them, but you need them. So that's why what do you do with them? So that's how they are tending to grow. But interestingly, across India, majority of the social unrest cases, Abhijit, and also where the PFI has its operations, SDPI and all its affiliates, there is somebody or the other who's from Kerala, who's present in all these offices. So the hub seems to be still Kerala. Even in Bihar, there were people who are coming from Kerala and from Tamil Nadu who are going there to train and who are regularly interacting. The SDPI local head in Jaipur is from Kerala. So he was also picked up. So there is this Kerala connection pan-India which is also happening. Now we got more information before I bring in Vikram Singh ji and also bring in Abhijit back again. This is a mega exclusive second aspect. These are the faces, ladies and gentlemen. Now have a look. CNN News 18 has 19 PFI-ISIS entities who have been identified. Links PFI and with the ISIS. This is the PFI-ISIS Connect, the faces. First one is Mohammed Samir. He's a resident of Vallapattanam in Kannur, Kerala, joined the ISIS in 2015. Earlier, subdivisional convener, killed in Syrian war zone fighting for the ISIS. The next face, Mohammed Shajil, resident of Munderi in Kannur in Kerala, joined the ISIS in 2016. Earlier, PFI's local hit squad, many criminal cases against him. Killed in Syria, fighting for ISIS. Now, this is the available picture of his in uniform. Safwan Pukutil, resident of Ponmundam, Malappuram, Kerala. Again, North Kerala. See this very carefully. Note the location. Kannur, Malappuram. This is all Kasargod, all North Kerala. Very specifically, ladies and gentlemen. Part of the Omar al-Hindi ISIS module in Kerala. He was arrested in 2016, has been convicted. Graphic designer, part of PFI's mouthpiece, Tejas Daily. Then again, Manseed Mahmood, Kundummal. Manseed Mahmood Kundummal, resident of Chokhli, Kannur, Kerala, also part of the Omar al-Hindi ISIS module. He was convicted along with Safwan in 2016. PFI member, overseas wing for 12 years, ladies and gentlemen. Area reporter, PFI Intel Department. Then you have Khaja Mohiddin, resident of Kodalur in Tamil Nadu. Notorious IS terrorist, arrested by the NIA in 2020, masterminded the killing of police officer Wilson in Kanyakumari. Shajir Mangaleseri is the next face. Resident of Wayanad in Kerala, joined the ISIS Khorasan. So Daesh Khorasan comes in place. Afghanistan, core member of PFI, FB groups, Tanal and SDPI Kerala. Planned to target RSS and BJP leaders. He's killed in Afghanistan. These are some of the faces who we have put out here, ladies and gentlemen. There are others whose names we have also put out last week, directly involved with the Daesh, be it in Syria or in Khorasan. Vikram Singh ji, If these people, so many of these faces were known, have we allowed them too much of a long leash?
Anandji, we have allowed the grass to grow underneath our feet, and because of those people who saw the 13 pieces of gold and not beyond their nose. As they say that perhaps we have not drawn our lessons from the likes of Mir Jafar, and they're the people. Look at the deep pockets that the PFI has. 250 crores in just 2 days. 140 crores into the Delhi anti-CA riots. 50 crores before the Bengaluru riots. They have such deep pockets, and Jain Hawala case gives us the indication that one requires an insidious and a crooked mind, just about 5 crores of rupees to buy out the topmost politicians, and many of them are cutting across political lines. Therefore, I would say it is an insidious and an extremely, extremely sinister and dangerous plot. And then 13 states, why blame Kerala alone? 13 states have been identified as those who seem to have a very, very soft corner and complicit when it comes to handling the PFI and the SDPI. In this case, we have slipped. You mentioned the DGP's meeting of 2007. It was for the first time in the DGP's meeting in September 2011 that the IB gave the input that the Kerala and the Karnataka forests are being used by the PFI to train their cadres into unarmed combat and also in the fabrication of crude bombs and IED explosions. Well, it has taken 11 years, and we as a country seem to be extremely large-hearted and magnanimous when it comes to anti-national activity and elements. Look what would have happened to them had it been some other state like Israel. And here we are trying to embrace them and glorify them. There are those like Rashid Alvi, Pramod Tiwari, and those who say, no, first show us the evidence and then go in for the raids. Where in the world will the investigating officer should show the evidence and then go in for the raids? The investigation has a specific roadmap, a protocol and SOP, and political bigwigs, however big they may be, they have no right even to take a look at the evidence. Within the organization also, there's a need to know and right to know. But yes, there is a subculture of looking the other way when it comes to pseudo-secularism and then monkey balancing acts. Ban this, then ban this also. This is not going to work. Anybody who has foreign affiliations, and look, in your show also, and many of the show I've been, the advocates and those speaking on behalf of the PFI say, give a single case of anyone going abroad, a single case where the PFI has been found at fault. And you have given a dozen cases yourself in this show, and I can give you 24 more. I have, but I will not waste your time.
No, it's not about wasting time, Vikram Singh. Here's what they do. The argument is they have this cushion of plausible deniability. Just because they were coming to PFI meetings or they were PFI members doesn't mean PFI radicalized them or recruited them. These people are going on their own terms, Abhijit Majumdar. That's how they have always turned around. Imagine the Campus Front of India on my shows 4 years ago had said that we are integral to this one, PFI. And now recently turned around, they had the gumption to sit down and say CFI and PFI are two different organizations altogether. We're not connected at all. So that's how they've evolved. In High Court, hijab is an essential practice in Islam. In Supreme Court, it may not be essential, but it is integral.
Yeah.
Look how they've changed the discourse.
Yeah, so that's the strength. I mean, it's, they are being pretty flexible. They are infiltrating insidiously into, we see in Jharkhand, the police, states like Jharkhand, not just Jharkhand, the police cadre has been infiltrated in some places. In some of the ISIS cases, there have been police officers stamping their passports and,
for false identity.
Yeah, or false identity. So they are actually working with a clean, a very strong plan. And but Campus Front of India doesn't have even plausible deniability, because the fund trail or the money trail will directly nail it with PFI from what I am reading. So, but there is one aspect, Anand, since Sushant is there, Sijit is there, and Mr. Singh is there. What makes Kerala such a hotbed of, the nerve center of Indian, jihadi activity.
Gulf,
The headquarters.
petrodollars, the fact that so many of them have gone to the Gulf, there is influence, and this was at a time when there were nations who were actively pushing the Salafi
ISIS.
Wahhabism. They were
Exactly.
pushing it. Now they seem to have moved away, but they have left this collateral damage on our soil.
Yeah, but
Possible?
Turkey has got involved in it big time, while some of the Arab states may have come back a few steps. So that's extremely worrying, actually.
Yeah, it is. But is that a fallout, Sushant Sareen? Would you agree? Because I'm also going to quickly put this out as I come across to you. This is the third aspect of the investigation and the details that we have access today on from top government sources, ladies and gentlemen. The PFI-ISIS Connect. We bring you the evidence which is writ large. Now have a look at this. ISIS-related training videos are there. IED manuals available. This is the incriminating documents that have been now recovered. ISIS propaganda speeches have also been found, not just digital trail but documentation. And connect that with the Bihar module, Sushant Sareen, with the Mission 2047. Maybe very, very lofty in terms of its thought process, saying 10% of Muslim support is all that we need to turn it all around in India. They don't have that. But look at the kind of outlining that they have done. Sushant Sareen.
Yeah, but Anand, you seem to forget that change and tectonic change in society is, you don't need 100% people. You need 10, 15, 20% very highly committed, radicalized, fanatical people to completely, bring something down, which is exactly what these guys were aiming at. And there are jihadist groups who believe not even 10%, who believe in the 1% theory, that if you have just about 1% people in the right places, you can actually wreak havoc wherever you want to. So there's no big deal in that. But Anand, something which Dr. Singh said, I think why just talk about PFI and how blind eye has been turned because of politics to PFI? Why don't we talk about the entire Northeast and Bengal and the kind of demographic transition which has taken place because politicians out there wanted to cement their vote banks and actually encouraged illegal migration, never imagining that it will completely change the demographics of so many districts.
Correct.
We allowed it to happen. And there's nothing you can do about it right now, right? One. Number two, there is this constant refrain from the apologists and the defenders of the PFI that, how can you link these people who went abroad with the PFI? The PFI didn't send them. There is a simple test to evaluate, that argument. What is it about the PFI that so many people of the PFI and not other... And there are innumerable Muslim organizations in this country. How is it that overwhelming majority of the people who have gone abroad for international jihadist causes are people from a particular organization, the PFI, and not from any of the other organizations, which might be very orthodox, very controversial in their own right. Right. They might actually be you could even call them communal organizations. And yet people from those organizations, you have neither found their involvement in this kind of terrorist activity, you have not found their involvement in any kind of militant activity, you have not found them or anybody associated with those organizations making a beeline for the ISIS or the Al-Qaeda or any of the other international terrorist groups. Why only PFI? So I think, this is a question which needs to be asked of these people who constantly point fingers that, you are hounding the PFI, that it's some kind of a social welfare organization, that it's some kind of, missionaries of charity kind of an organization. It is none of those things. It is a pure and simple jihadist outfit, albeit operating under a very, very secular sounding name. And this is the same model which you see in Jammu and Kashmir, where you will have, the anti-fascist front, or you will have, very secular sounding other names of these groups which have come up, newfangled groups which have come up. Nobody can say that these are Islamist jihadist groups. The same model is followed by the guys from the PFI. So no big deal in that, That's a standard operating procedure.
No, and do you get the sense, Vikram Singh ji, please take this forward, that they also seem to have perfected it over their progression or growth or even metamorphosis, if I may say, from SIMI to IM to PFI and its affiliate organizations. They seem to have perfected it. They seem to have taken what works everywhere in terms of subterfuge, and they have redefined how to work to subvert the system, using the system to subvert it.
Anandji, I would go a step further. I find that the footprints of the ISI and also of other intelligence agencies hostile to us have been excellent mentors to the PFI, to the SIMI and other such organizations. The standard operating procedure, as Sushant Sarinji has mentioned, is deception. Deception with a capital D, and also subterfuge. Falsehood, as Dr. Goebbels, but Dr. Goebbels is a far cry from what is happening today. They have perfected it. Repetition, internalization, it has become a second nature to them, and now they have perfected it in a manner that perhaps if there is a trophy for the biggest subterfuge and falsehood, as the lawyers come and they speak in our debates and come out with absolute white lies with so much of confidence, well, they really must have done extremely good hard practice at home, and there must be tutelage and tutoring and mentoring also how to produce falsehood and make it appear as a gospel truth. Here is the problem, is that perhaps their perfection is so good that the nation was taken for a ride, and whether willingly or unwillingly. When I say willingly, there were those who just slept over this and looked the other way, and there were those who were swept away by the smooth talk. But yes, I'm happy that Anandji raised this point, that this tutelage by international intelligence agencies, because this is exactly what the footprints of the ISI, duly tutored by national intelligence agencies of Turkey and other such rogue agencies, they have given them the absolute tutoring and mentoring that they are what they are today, and they are adept at befooling the local police and intelligence agencies and law enforcement agencies.
Not just fooling them, but also very quietly getting into, embedding themselves into the system. So
very true.
So
very
using the system, like Abhijit was saying, that they have gotten into police, they've gotten into administration, they've gotten into the legal system, and they had fronts for all of this. They also used community and humanitarian and charitable causes to reach out to society. And when they come out absolutely benign. They are able to rein their emotions in, allowing it to manifest only when it needs to. Srijit Nair, why Kerala, and especially North Kerala?
Yeah, it is probably because of the political outfits that they have formed. The mainstream political parties do depend on communal votes here. I would say communal votes rather than religious votes. Basically, because they do have a principle of wooing such kinds of organizations.
No, is it that? See, because I'll tell you what, Islam came to India first from Trishur. Yeah. So it is 6th century itself, from at the time of the Prophet itself. This influence, is it petrodollars, or is it the Salafi Wahhabi push? Is it because the number of Malayalis who went to the Gulf and then got indoctrinated there and brought back that radicalization here? Because why? Because in North Kerala, you find shops named in Arabic. It's not in Malayalam. The names are Arabic. Influence is Arabic. Culture is Arabic.
Exactly. And therefore, this deception is only an external garb that people are wearing. Deep under the hood, they are propagating communal agenda. And it has come out very publicly on multiple occasions, even from their ideologues to even small children. You might have seen the protest rally, right? Anand, the protest rally in Alappuzha, where a small child was actually warning people in the Hindu and Christian community to be prepared for performing their last rites. So this kind of audacity is there even for a small child to shout religious and communal slogans publicly against. And when caught, they were saying that they were shouting these slogans against the Sangh, as if people in Sangha Parivar were easy targets and they could be killed, and there was a reason for it, there was a justification for it. So this was the kind of agenda that these people were spreading. One particular incident that I would like to mention here on the debate was in 2007. There is this ideologue by the name Professor P. Koya, who has now been nabbed by the NIA. So he gave an interview to the Washington Post Newsweek. And this interview, the online link is still available on Washington Post Newsweek. And this story was titled, "A Professor Praises Terrorism." So this happened way back in 2007. And he was saying there that somebody had called him in 2001 on a fine day morning and asked him to switch on BBC. So when he switched on BBC, he was seeing the live visuals of this airplane hitting the and he says that he was all laughs saying this. He's saying, what else can a helpless people do? So this is the kind of audacity that these people have built over the years, thanks to their services to SIMI, thanks to their services to banned other organizations, and also other organizations which were running the precursors of this PFI, like the National Democratic Front. There were certain other organizations from Tamil Nadu and Karnataka which also merged to form PFI. So these were the ideologues, and these people went scot-free here. They were talking anti-India agenda in their large mass gatherings. They were saying that the Balakot airstrike, they were saying this Balakot airstrike, we did not target the bases of these militants. Instead, we were bombing the forests. So this was the Pakistan narrative. And they were also saying that we did not shoot down any of the F-16s of that the Pakistan army had. They are saying the propaganda which is run by Pakistan, saying that people from the United States went to Pakistan, they checked all the F-16s and all the 20 were intact. Now, this propaganda, although it will appear as a joke to the people, there is a deep design to it. So this actually is basically instilling this anti-India propaganda, this campaign into the minds deeply into all these people. There are several lakhs of people that gather there at various beaches where these events are held. So this is the kind of audacity that they have built over the years. And because they are a very significant political front, especially at the grassroots level, they may not have any representation in the assembly or in the parliament. They may not even contest in some other places. But what happens is that at the bottom level, at the grassroots level, they do have a very strong physical presence.
Right.
They are there in a lot of local bodies. They do give discreet support to a lot of mainstream parties. They can, upset a particular entity in a local body. They can give or abstain their support.
And then they will get into that particular body.
And therefore, what happens is that there was, so these all these things happened initially. But what I vividly remember is that last year when the state assembly elections were held, there was a leader who came out in the open and he said that we have 10,000 votes in the Nemam constituency in Trivandrum, which was the only seat the BJP had. He said, to beat BJP, we are ready to offer this to the CPM candidate. Now, CPM all the while has been terming the PFI silently, as a terrorist organization. But then they said that although they are communal, they shouldn't have accepted the votes. But nobody said that. Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan was in charge of all these activities. He was guarding all these activities even at that point of time. They did not deny the votes. So basically, the votes are the thing that unites all these people.
Right. So at the end of the day, you are ready to even compromise security, national interest, because your political interest is furthered. I have to stop here. I have to stop here because the challenge, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have documented evidence that they are working with terrorist organizations. Yet, the government has not banned them as a terrorist organization. They have banned them as unlawful association under Section 3 and 4, not under Section 1 of the UAPA. So think about how they have planned this out and thought this through, these organizations and the various entities. This is just the initial part of the probe. We have given you the insight into the initial probe dossier that's being built. Just the excerpt, ladies and gentlemen. There is a lot more that we'll share with you in the days to come. I thank all our panelists. Thank you very much. Stay with us. When we come back, what happened on the Gyanvapi hearing? Why is the Muslim Paksh against the ASI conducting a survey of the entire Gyanvapi Parisar? More importantly, what was discovered right next at that now enclosed and guarded Wazukhana? Why are they saying don't go ahead and survey, don't do a scientific investigation? Vishnu Jain and Harishankar Jain when we come back.